Once, Kanye West wasn't just famous, he was untouchable.
Everybody want to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
A name that meant innovation, rebellion, and raw genius. He didn't follow culture, he created it. His music redefined hip-hop, his sneakers changed fashion, his words bold, unpredictable, and often prophetic turned him into a global icon who seemed immune to failure. But behind the brilliance was a force just as powerful: his belief in himself. He believed he was chosen by talent, by destiny, by God himself. That conviction made him unstoppable.
Yo, Taylor, I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time. One of the best videos of all time.
He's a jackass.
Don't take no photos! Okay. Stop it!
Jewish people, forgive Hitler today. Let it go.
So, what has made an arrogant Kanye West the man who challenged presidents and hijacked award shows, and how he destroyed his own career? Welcome to the downfall of Kanye West. Kanye West is an American rapper, producer, and fashion designer, a visionary who redefined what it means to be an artist in the 21st century. His ascent began with The College Dropout 2004, not just a debut, but a declaration. At a time when hip-hop glorified survival and bravado, Kanye offered something radically different: honesty. He rapped about faith, family, and self-doubt with the same conviction others reserve for triumph. The album's sound, soulful samples, warm melodies, and fearless vulnerability cracked open a new emotional vocabulary for the genre. It didn't just succeed, it changed the conversation, proving that introspection could be just as powerful as aggression. With Late Registration and Graduation, he built on that foundation, turning hip-hop into symphony and spectacle. Strings met synths, ambition met accessibility. His performances blurred the line between concert and theater, between rapper and architect. By 2007, Kanye wasn't merely part of pop culture, he was pop culture, shaping how a generation dressed, thought, and dreamed. That influence only expanded when he moved beyond music. Yeezy, his collaboration with Adidas, reimagined sneakers as status symbols and turned minimalist design into a global uniform. What he wore became what the world wanted to wear. His creative reach from catwalks to soundtracks was no longer confined to charts. It was cultural gravity. By the early 2010s, he stood at the center of everything: a designer, a visionary, a provocateur whose ideas shaped the sound and style of a generation. He wasn't following trends. He was setting the rhythm of the era itself. And beneath that brilliance, the tension was already building. The same intensity that fueled his rise would soon ignite his fall. At the height of his fame, Kanye West seemed unstoppable. Every scandal only seemed to make him more famous. His confidence was intoxicating, his ambition limitless. But as his power grew, so did his volatility. The charm that once felt magnetic began to teeter towards something darker, impulsive, erratic, unpredictable. And beneath the glow of the spotlight, the warning signs were quietly multiplying. The first public fracture came live on television. September 13th, 2009, the MTV Video Music Awards. A young Taylor Swift stood on stage, clutching her award, when Kanye stormed forward, snatched the microphone, and declared, "Beyoncé had one of the best videos of all time." The interruption lasted less than half a minute, but it felt seismic. In a single act, he had hijacked the biggest stage in pop culture and rewritten his image in front of millions. The reaction was instant and merciless. Social media exploded. Late-night hosts mocked him. Headlines labeled him a narcissist, a bully, a man drunk on his own myth. Even President Obama, caught off guard by a hot mic, called him a jackass. Within hours, Kanye went from visionary to villain. The media didn't just report the moment, they dissected it, replayed it, and turned it into a symbol the moment Kanye West became his own worst enemy. He apologized multiple times in interviews, in writing, even in tears, but the damage was done. His confidence, once seen as artistry, now read as arrogance. His defiance, once magnetic, began to feel manic. Behind the spectacle, something more fragile was breaking. 2 years earlier, in 2007, Kanye had lost his mother, Donda, the one person who had grounded him, the quiet force that balanced his ego. Her sudden death after cosmetic surgery left him adrift. Without her, the structure vanished. Those who knew him best say the man who walked on stage that night wasn't the same one she'd raised. By 2016, the instability had spilled fully into view. During his St. Pablo tour, Kanye stopped shows mid-performance to deliver rambling monologues about politics, betrayal, and fame. A few nights later, he canceled the entire tour and was hospitalized for exhaustion and psychiatric observation, when he later revealed his bipolar diagnosis. Fans and journalists faced a moral dilemma: how to empathize with his illness while still holding him accountable for his actions. Then came the political turn: the red MAGA hat. The meeting with Donald Trump. The infamous comment that 400 years of slavery sounds like a choice. For some, it was an artistic rebellion. For most, it was a rupture the moment admiration turned to alarm. Each incident, on its own, might have been forgiven, but together. They told a different story, a man at war with the world and with himself. The stage that had once amplified his genius was now broadcasting his unraveling. And though the empire still looked intact, the collapse had already begun. For years, Kanye West seemed untouchable. Every controversy only made him more famous. Every headline felt like part of the show. But in 2022, something changed. This time, it wasn't art, it wasn't performance. It was self-destruction live and unfiltered. It started with a shirt. October, Paris Fashion Week. Kanye walked onto the runway at his own Yeezy show wearing a black t-shirt that read, "White Lives Matter." The slogan tied to hate groups was a deliberate provocation. People were shocked, angry, and confused. But instead of backing down, Kanye pushed further. Within days, he began posting anti-Semitic comments online, writing, "I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people." The words were ugly, reckless, and dangerous, and the reaction was immediate. Then came the interviews, on podcasts and talk shows. He repeated conspiracy theories about Jewish people controlling the media and the music business. And then came the breaking point, his appearance on Alex Jones's InfoWars. Wearing a black mask that covered his face, Kanye said calmly, "I like Hitler. I see good things about him." It wasn't a stunt or a misunderstanding. It was real, and it shocked even his biggest supporters. From that moment, everything began to collapse. Within weeks, companies that once fought to work with him were cutting ties one after another. Balenciaga canceled their partnership. Vogue and Anna Wintour walked away. His talent agency, CAA, dropped him. Gap stopped selling Yeezy products. And finally, the biggest blow of all, Adidas. Adidas had built a billion-dollar empire with Kanye, but after his anti-Semitic rants. They released a simple statement: Adidas does not tolerate anti-Semitism or any other form of hate speech. In one day, his empire vanished. Forbes removed him from the billionaire list. His net worth dropped from around $2 billion to roughly $400 million. The man who once said, "Adidas will never drop me," had just proven himself wrong. But the fallout wasn't just financial, it was moral. Jewish organizations reported a rise in hate incidents linked directly to his words. In Los Angeles, extremist groups projected Kanye as right about the Jews onto buildings. His influence had crossed a line. It wasn't just shaping culture anymore, it was fueling hate. Even his own projects began to crumble. Donda Academy, the private Christian school he founded in honor of his mother, shut down after lawsuits and shocking allegations of chaos inside strange rules. Mismanagement. Even reports that he praised Hitler in front of students. What began as a tribute to Donda West's legacy of education ended in disgrace. Through it all, Kanye refused to apologize. He called himself misunderstood, claiming that his words were part of a divine mission. But the cost was everything: his brand, his partnerships, his reputation, and the trust of millions who once believed in him. For 2 decades, Kanye West had built worlds through sound, fashion, and vision. In 2022, he destroyed them with the same intensity that once made him great. This wasn't just a fall from grace, it was a total collapse. The empire didn't crumble because the world turned on him. It fell because Kanye West lit the match himself. Every rise deserves a second act, and Kanye West has never stopped trying to write his. But redemption, like fame, requires honesty. And in Kanye's story, honesty has always been the hardest verse to deliver. After the chaos of 2022, the world waited for remorse. What it got instead was confusion. In late 2023, Kanye posted an apology written entirely in Hebrew. "I sincerely apologize to the Jewish community," it read. "I never meant to hurt or demean, and I deeply regret any pain I may have caused." On the surface, it looked like an olive branch. But the timing told another story. The post appeared just days before the release of his new album Vultures, and only weeks after another anti-Semitic remark was made on stage. To some, it felt calculated: less confession, more PR rehearsal. The reaction was split. Some fans clung to hope that he was finally changing. Others saw the same old pattern repeating. Because if there's one thing consistent in Kanye's history, it's this: the apology always arrives right before the next storm. After the Taylor Swift incident in 2009, he cried on national television. After saying slavery sounded like a choice in 2018, he apologized for how it made people feel, not for the words themselves. Each time, the message changed, but the rhythm stayed the same: a burst of outrage, followed by a performance of regret. The deeper issue lies in how Kanye sees himself. He doesn't view his actions through guilt, but through destiny. In his mind. He's not the villain of the story, he's the misunderstood prophet, silenced by what he calls cancel culture. That self-image makes real accountability almost impossible, because to admit fault would mean admitting that the myth he's built, the myth of divine genius, might be flawed. But the audience has evolved. The same generation that once crowned him a visionary now demands something rarer than creativity: accountability. They've learned to recognize the difference between regret and responsibility, between damage control and growth. Kanye once used his art to turn pain into power. Now, his apologies feel like remixes of a song no one wants to hear anymore. Because in the end, redemption isn't about what you say after you fall. It's about what you change when you stand back up. And for Kanye West, that change is yet to come. The fall of Kanye West wasn't just a scandal, it was a cultural rupture. The man once hailed as a visionary of sound and style is now studied as a paradox, a genius undone by his own excess. A symbol of what happens when brilliance meets no boundaries. Today, his music still echoes across playlists and fashion still bears his fingerprints. The college dropout, graduation, my beautiful dark twisted fantasy. These remain touchstones of a generation, yet every listen carries an aftertaste admiration laced with unease. Can we still celebrate art when we can no longer trust the artist? It's a question that stretches far beyond Kanye, into the heart of modern celebrity culture. The tangible fallout is undeniable. His partnerships vanished, his wealth collapsed, and his once loyal fan base fractured into disbelief and defense. Reports linked his rhetoric to real-world harm, anti-Semitic graffiti, hate speech spikes, extremist slogans quoting his name, and the closure of Donda Academy. Once envisioned as a legacy for his mother, stands as a haunting metaphor, a dream poisoned by its own creator. Yet beyond the wreckage lies a mirror held up to all of us. Kanye's story exposes the cost of a fame ecosystem that rewards outrage and monetizes instability. It reminds us that unchecked adoration can become a weapon both for the idol and against them. Perhaps that is his final legacy, a cautionary tale about the danger of confusing genius with godhood. Because Kanye West did what few ever dare, he built an empire from pain and turned confession into currency. But when the applause faded, what remained wasn't triumph or tragedy. It was the echo of a question we're still asking. Where does brilliance end and responsibility begin? In the end, Kanye West's story feels less like a fall and more like an unraveling. From the boy who recorded through a wired jaw to the mogul who reshaped sound, fashion, and fame. His life became a mirror of the modern age brilliance amplified, ego unfiltered, collapse live streamed. He was the dreamer who believed he could bend the world to his will, and for a time, he did. Until the same spotlight that once made him immortal revealed everything he tried to hide. The question now isn't whether Kanye can return. It's whether the culture that built him ever learned. What is the real cost of genius without guardrails? At what point does empathy for mental illness give way to accountability for harm? Can art survive the artist who refuses to face himself? Perhaps redemption is still possible not in record sales or public apologies, but in silence, healing, and humility. But even if it never comes, his story will remain a landmark, a reminder that fame is both a stage and a trap, and that no empire, however grand, is immune to gravity. From adored to abandoned, from icon to cautionary tale, this was the price of being, yeah,